Howdy folks, and I hope you're all happy and healthy out there in collecting land, and welcome back to the channel for another 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review. And today's offering is Present Toys, a 1/6 scale take on Sigourney Weaver, aka Ellen Ripley from James Cameron's now legendary sequel to Ridley Scott's '79 classic Alien. Yep, this time it's war, and this time it's aliens. I'm not going to bang on too much about the movie, as everything has pretty much been said about this bona fide masterpiece. But in my humble opinion, as with T2, Alien sets the bar for science fiction action movie sequels, which has yet to be bettered in either franchise. Usual format folks, box, accessories, figure and showcase at the end, but with one notable addition. We will be bringing out Hot Toys Grail 79 Ripley for a comparison, so I make no apologies if the runtime is a little longer than usual on this review. But before we dive in, the usual Alien Queen size shout out to everyone who supported the channel, and a massive shout out to William Wang as well over at One Man's Hobby for sourcing me this particular figure. There will be a link to his website in the description below, so please check it out. And please drop a like on this review as it helps other people find the channel. And if you haven't already, please mash that subscribe button and bell notification icon so you're not missing any of the action figure goodness coming up on the channel. And trust me, there's a hell of a lot of it. It's cost and pain free, and you'll be making an old collector very happy, which must be rewarding itself surely. But that's enough of my ramblings. On to the box. Let's have a quick look at it. And I have to say, it's a pretty impressive box and presentation from Present Toys here. Seems to have gone to town a bit. There's some weight to this box as well. It's a hefty box. What you've got going on is a slipcover design with a fairly decent quality card with a box underneath. This sort of black and red striation which goes on all around the box. On the front cover there's a sort of silhouette of Ripley with a facehugger attached. It says Flight Officer at the bottom. Obviously this is an unlicensed figure, so they couldn't use the alien's name or Ripley's name, so they've called it Flight Officer. It says Present Toys at the top. On the left hand side, Present Toys logo and name, and on the right hand side same thing again. On the bottom, Flight Officer in that red as well, and Flight Officer on the top. That's pretty much it. Around the back you've got the usual warnings, don't piss this figure off or it's game over, man. And that's pretty much it for the slip cover. You whip this thing off. Underneath, around the back, you've got this continuation of this sort of xenomorph theme. You've got a picture of the xenomorph there, the warnings again, and some xenomorph eggs at the bottom there, and some aliens lurking, which continues all the way around the top. And on the front, you've got this. Now, I don't think this is the figure. I think this is a stylized shot from the movie itself. This is Ripley here, pretty certain of that. And once again, those xenomorph eggs and xenomorphs on the ceiling as well. So yeah, that's your box. Very bold, very, very well done. As I say, I think Present Toys have gone to town here with the presentation, and it looks very, very good indeed. Brand new figure this, literally just come through the door, gone straight in front of the camera, so the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that the seals are still intact on this one. So what we will do is we'll break those seals open, dive down onto the table and have a look at all the accessories that come with your Ripley figure. Okay folks, so seals broken, accessories out. Let's take a look at everything that you get with the figure. We'll start with the hands first. You get 4 pairs of hands. There's an open palm pair already on the figure. They're the gloved ones, and you get another pair of gloved hands here as well. Vast majority are hands for gripping the accessories. They're trigger finger hands and gripping hands. But we'll have a quick close-up look. And I'm probably going to say this more than once in this review. We do need to remain aware, shall we say, of the price point that Present Toys comes in at. We're not talking in art or Hot Toys price points here, so that's going to be reflected in the product, but the hands themselves look okay. Not much in the way of detailing here. There's no vein work or bone work in the backs of the hands. No real creasing in the knuckles or anything like that. There's an attempt at creasing in the palms there, but there's not a vast amount. There's some visible seams as well. There's an attempt at fingernails being sculpted in there. We'll take a look at this one. Let's do the flexibility test. Soft to medium here, so gripping the accessories shouldn't be an issue. Shouldn't be any requirement for a hairdryer or hot water here, but overall, yeah, they're not the best hands I've ever seen. Possibly not the worst either, but yeah, price point. We need to remember that. And you also get these gloved hands as well. The fingerless gloves are sculpted okay. There's some creasing in there, and the paint applications sort of give it a semi-leather effect. I believe they were leather in the film, but yeah, overall relatively simplistic. But yeah, you've got that gap sculpted in the back of the hand, just below the knuckles. But yeah, overall pretty good. We'll settle for a pretty good. So that's the hands. What else do you get? We'll take a quick look at the pouch. Now, I believe Ripley carried the tracking devices and grenades and extra ammo flares, that kinds of thing in this pouch. It feels like it's made out of a canvas material. Looks pretty screen accurate. The colour seems on point. Got an attached bit of cotton there. Don't know where that's come from. But yeah, there's a little sort of pocket on the side here. The strap itself feels like it's made out of a nylon material with metal clasps, which is nice to see. And there's an attempt at weathering on here. I'm not sure whether the light's catching this, but across the top here and around the seam areas and on the bottom, it's been given some brown weathering, which makes it look a little bit more battered and a little bit more screen accurate. Velcro fastening top, and inside you've got a couple of pieces of foam there so it keeps its shape. So yeah, that's the pouch. Let's take a look at the weapons. Now, you get two weapons. You get the flamethrower and the pulse rifle. We'll take a look at the pulse rifle first. All one piece of sculpted plastic. Straight away, it looks pretty accurate to me. Looks pretty convincing. They've got that sort of olive bottle green colour almost on the main body of the gun, and then the barrel and the grip. More of a metallic gunmetal colour with silver dry brushing on there to accentuate that metal look and pick out the details. Overall, the proportions look pretty accurate. The paintwork looks pretty good. You've got silver detailing where the clip goes in there and silver detailing on the handle. They've sculpted in the counter there, and it says 95 in red. And overall, yeah, a pretty impressive pulse rifle there. And it's also got a sort of cocking action going on with this sliding section, this sliding handle section underneath the main barrel. So yeah, pretty good. A pretty good pulse rifle there from Present Toys. Of course, where would Ripley be without her flamethrower? And once again, screen accurate. Double check this actually against, because I was unconvinced by the colour, but was proven wrong. Check this against some of the pictures of the actual flamethrower itself, and this is actually very, very accurate. Once again, it's got this sort of military deep green colour with silver dry brushing on there to give it that worn look and that slightly scuffed and scratched look. Sculpting is very, very nice, all in plastic. You've got these black sections around the canister area, black sections on the trigger, and overall, yeah, very nicely done. But it's got this nylon strap that's attached on the barrel and at the rear of the weapon, and overall, yeah, a nice take on the flamethrower there from Aliens. So yeah, that's the flamethrower. Let's have a quick look at this base. Now this base is absolutely huge. Collectors of Present Toys will know that normally Present Toys produce that sort of standard oval base with a sticker on top, but they seem to have gone all in here with this base that's got an absolutely huge footprint. Hollow plastic, nothing by the way of feet on the bottom, so watch out if you're putting this onto a glass surface or a shiny surface. Don't want it sliding around. But yeah, on the top here you've got this grill effect. Now, not dissimilar to the sculpted in plastic grill effect of the Hot Toys version of this figure, but this is just a sticker which has been attached to the top, but it does the job, and it looks from a distance looks relatively convincing. On the front you've got this metal nameplate. I believe it's metal, it's cold to the touch, and it's etched in there, it says Flight Officer, and you've got a couple of xenomorphs at either side. I'm not sure how I feel about this base. I do like it. I mean, it's great because you've got other accessories that you can put on there and you can use it for some dynamic posing because of its size. Not sure whether I'll be using it because I'm not awfully keen on the Flight Officer thing going on the front there, but that's just me probably being pedantic. But yeah, overall, it's pretty nicely done and very, very impressive size-wise at least. Comes with a standard issue crotch grabber that you normally see with Present Toys. Simply slots into the back there. He said confidently, these things never work on camera. Oh, it's gone in. And so yeah, there you have it, the huge footprint base. That's difficult to say. We'll pop that to one side. What else do you get? Xenomorph egg. Really nice to see this as an inclusion from Present Toys. It's yeah, it is what it says on the tin. It's an open xenomorph egg. We've seen a number of these from a number of manufacturers, but it looks like Present Toys have done a good job here. Sculpted plastic, as always. It's got this foam section on the bottom here, so might probably give it some grip. So hopefully won't slide around too much. And yeah, the detailing is pretty nice on here. You've got sort of blacks and greys and those sort of deep greens, and there's sort of hints of yellow towards the bottom there, and it looks very convincing, and it's nicely painted. On the inside, where these sections open up, you've got this sort of salmon pink paint application, this high gloss paint application with black and red washes in the details there to give it those sort of fleshy tones. And that rather unpleasant, alive look, and yeah, those paint applications are continued inside as well. So yeah, that's your 6 scale xenomorph egg, and quite nicely done it is too. I like that. And to go with the egg, you get your face hugger. Now, all one piece of sculpted plastic, this, and there's no real give in this. It's quite rigid plastic. It's quite hard. There's a little bit of give in the legs, but there's no articulation here. Overall, though, the sculpt looks pretty good. They've got the segments in the tail there. There's sort of a salmon pink washes on this to pick out the details. I think those knuckles are a bit on the bright side. I don't ever remember them being that red, but it is what it is. And they've even sculpted the inside as well with that sort of fleshy section on the inside there, where the sort of proboscis thing would come out and go into the victim's mouth. But it's nice to see they've sculpted the inside of the face hugger as well. But yeah, maybe not the best paint applications, or well, not. That's probably harsh, probably not the most screen accurate of paint applications, but overall it's an effective 6 scale face hugger, and you can have it in the display, you can have it scuttling around, or you can even have it coming out, emerging from the egg there. So yeah, that's the xenomorph egg. Forgot to mention as well, when we were looking at the flamethrower and the pulse rifle, you get this spare strap. It's just a nylon strap with a fastening at the top there, a plastic fastening, comes wrapped up in this little sort of black elastic band. Now, I believe this is for tying the pulse rifle to the flamethrower. So if you want to go that screen accurate look, where Ripley actually lashes the two weapons together and then has them slung over her shoulders, I'm assuming that's what this is for. Now, there are no instructions with this figure. I had this issue with the Blitzway 1/4 scale statue. You pretty much have to figure it out for yourself how you're going to wrap the two together, but I'm sure we'll come up with the solution before the showcase section. So yeah, that's your strap for your pulse rifle. So there you have it. That's all the accessories. So without further ado, let's bring out Ripley herself. Let's get her onto that ginormous stand, onto the turntable, and find out what she's all about. Okay folks, so here she is. It's Ripley herself, out of the box, onto that enormous stand, onto the turntable. And first impressions. First impressions are pretty good, I have to say. The proportions look okay. The outfit looks pretty screen accurate. The head sculpt we will get to, but that looks pretty good. Overall, yeah, it looks like a pretty good package, but we will do as we always do. We will take a close-up look at her. We'll start at the bottom and work our way up. We'll stop her from spinning. One thing that does strike me straight away is weathering. That word weathering springs to mind. There is some weathering on here, but my first impressions straight away is this needs more. Just more of it all over. Looks way too clean, but we'll come to that. So let's get her off this stand. We'll start at the bottom, work our way up. Let's take a look at these boots now. These boots, much debate about these boots, manufactured by Reebok for the film itself, and unfortunately, the Reebok didn't, or very very, very loath to give out their licenses to any figure manufacturers or statue makers. So you'll see that the actual boots, when they're reproduced in 6 scale, it's the same with the story with the Blitzway quarter scale statue, is that they actually put Ripley's name on rather than Reebok. It just seems to fit. So they've done that here as well. Gotta say, the work on these boots is not the best work I've ever seen from Present Toys straight away. The sculpt is okay, it's pretty accurate, but it's the paint applications and just the general sculpt actually, they're a bit rough around the edges. They're a lot rough, shall we say. If you actually look here, the paint applications, there's a lot of bleed going on here if you look closely. Where it should say Ripley across that grey strap there, the R and I are just completely messed up, and it's mirror imaged on this one rather than repeated the right way. So yeah, not the best work I've ever seen from Present Toys. Sculpt's okay, paint applications not the best. This particular boot design begs for a split cut boot, and there's nothing going on here of that description. I mean, I believe it's pegged straight into the ankle, and there is literally no movement going on here, tiniest amount of movement. You've got some red sole there with some tread on it, which is nice to see. But yeah, you're going to be limited in posing with the movement here. And overall, yeah, the sculpt and the paint applications are not the best I've seen. They're adequate at best. Moving up to the cargo pants. Now, the right shade here, and the material feels quite good. Feels like a cotton material. You've got 6 scale zips in these front pockets. There's a 6 scale zip in this pocket on the lower leg here. The stitch work is pretty nice for a 6 scale figure, and you know me and my 6 scale stitch work and how picky I am about it. But overall, yeah, they look pretty good. The colour's right. The stitch work's nice. Could use some weathering. There is an attempt, I think, at weathering here, because my eye did catch some slightly dirtier areas on the front of the pants here. But overall, yeah, in need of some serious weathering, I think. Pockets in the sides here. Functioning pockets, good to see. Quite high-waisted, and which is in keeping with the figure. Now, the figure itself, the legs are solid plastic. Let's test out the articulation while we're here. You've got a ratchet, what feels like a ratchet joint at the knee there, and you've got a double bend. It's a double bend knee rather than a ratchet, and you'll go all the way up to the back there. So you've got some really, really good articulation there for posing. As I say, not much movement in those ankles, unfortunately, though. Up to these hips, yeah, it feels like a ball joint in those hips there, and yeah, you've got a good range of movement there, only really limited by the crotch area in these cargo pants. But yeah, you're going to be able to move these legs pretty much freely wherever you want to. Let's check the waist. There's a small amount of articulation in that waist here, but I think what this comes down to is somewhere underneath here, and I'm not going to actually take the pants off to find out, but I think it's the legs then go, yeah, the legs themselves actually go directly into a seamless body. I don't know what material Present Toys have used here, silicone, rubber, or a mixture of the two. But yeah, you can feel there around the hip area that the main part of the body is this silicone rubber, and the legs are hard plastic. But yeah, onwards and upwards, you've got the belt and the harness section. Now these feel like a nylon. They look pretty well done. And the harness section itself obviously is attached to that belt and acts as a bandolier, and you have these shells in now. I'm not sure whether these shells are removable. It feels like they are. Yeah, all these shells are removable. I wouldn't recommend it, especially not for somebody like me with sausage fingers. They're going to bounce off into the distance. I'm never going to see them again. But the harness is attached by these plastic clips just below the shoulder area, stretches around the back there. Then on top of the harness, you've got a second bandolier, also with these shells fitted as well. They've got this sort of silver paint application on there and red paint application at the end as well. underneath the bandolier and the actual strapping itself, you've got the t-shirt. Feels like a cotton material. Looks like there's been some weathering on here. Maybe not as much as there should be, but at least there's an attempt at weathering there. You've got this dark section around the chest area where she sweated and got dirty. The stitch work looks pretty good. The screen accuracy is there colour-wise. Underneath it was sort of an off-white, and that looks pretty much on point. And then you come to the arms now. Not 100% convinced with these arms, I've got to admit. First of all, it's the proportions of them. There really is no muscularity. I'll straighten this arm out and you'll be able to see what I mean here. There's literally no muscularity in there at all. It's literally straight down. Now, I know Sigourney Weaver wasn't exactly a bodybuilder, but she did have some muscularity going on, and there's virtually nothing there at all. It's literally straight down. And the eagle-eyed amongst you as well notice that there's a seam line there, and the seam line's not attached particularly accurately, and so there are bits of this silicone stroke rubber actually sticking out, which makes for an ugly look, unfortunately. The paint applications are pretty good to give flesh tones. There's multiple paint applications on there, slightly redder at the elbow joints, but overall, yeah, perhaps a little too thin for my taste. Pegged directly into those arms are these hands. These are the other pair of hands that we talked about down in the accessories section. They could have perhaps gone a little bit further as well to concealing the peg here, because the ball section of the peg is really quite visible, and if you move this hand in any particular angle other than straight down, you are going to catch sight of that ball joint there. I am going to repeat myself here though and say price point as well. We must always bear in mind price point with this figure. Let's check the articulation in the arms. Feels like yeah, got a straight bend there. Looks like this will continue to go up, but I'm not going to push it because this is obviously silicone stroke rubber, this body. I'm not sure what body they've used. It's probably a stock body, this, or a custom body. I'm not sure. But yeah, as with all bodies of this type, I would recommend not keeping it in a dynamic pose for any length of time, because you're going to run the risk of stretching or splitting this rubber silicone. Yeah, and actually the joints themselves look pretty good when you bend them. A lot of the time the joints can disform when you bend the arm like that when you've got these bodies, but that seems to fold pretty well into the elbow joint there. Let's see if it's the same case on the other side. Yeah, no, not too bad. Starting to form there a little bit is that ugly lip that you get sometimes, but on the whole, if a little thin, not too bad, and apart from that seam line. So yeah, that's the arms. Let's check the shoulders here now. Yeah, you've got a ball joint there, and you've got a butterfly joint rather, and it's giving you a full range of motion in there. So these arms will come out to 45, and I would imagine they'll probably go higher as well. Yeah, but I mean, with this being seamless, I would exercise caution pushing these too high. Although it's hidden underneath the shirt here, I would imagine overextending that, you're going to tear that material underneath the arm there. So yeah, that's the arms, and onto the icing on the cake, this head sculpt. Now, where to begin with this head sculpt? As I mentioned at the top there, we're going to bring out the Hot Toys version. Probably a good idea to bring it out now, actually. But just before we do that, let's take a quick look. And I've got a photograph here. And now, trying not to knock the camera over, just bear with me a second. And I'll bring up this photo. Now, this photo is of it was the prototype, the promotional photos for this figure. And when it was first announced and these pictures were released, there was some consternation amongst collectors about that head sculpt. Now, as you can see, that head sculpt bears no resemblance to the one that we're looking at, and also this one bears absolutely no resemblance to Ellen Ripley at all, and this was what put me off this figure. But I would suspect, and don't quote me on this, but I suspect what's happened here is when Present Toys have released these images of the prototype, they've heard the voices of those who weren't happy with this head sculpt, and they've taken it back to the drawing board and come up with this one that we're looking at. Now, this one, and I'm going to say this from the get-go, to me, and once again, don't hang me out to dry here, but this one bears a startling resemblance to the Hot Toys 79 Ripley. And we're going to bring that out for a comparison. So I think, yes, they've improved it for the better. I think the head sculpt is very, very good, but it is putting me in mind too much, maybe, of the Hot Toys 79 version. And I can't get the word remold out of the back of my head, but I will leave that to you to decide when you see them next to each other. But I think overall that is a good head sculpt. It's pegged directly in, it's not fixed neck. As with a lot of these rubber silicone bodies, they can sometimes cause problems with the head movement. There doesn't seem to be too much here. You've got a decent range of motion going on there. As always, I would say exercise caution when you're posing the head. The hard plastic of the head can sometimes rub against this silicone, discolor it, split it, mark it, and you don't want that. I think as well, looking at the figure overall, it needs to be battered up a little bit. I think some cuts on the face, some blood paint applications, high gloss blood paint applications, a bit of bruising wouldn't go astray either, and some dirtying up of these arms as well. But I think overall, I think that head sculpt is really, really good. I think they've caught the hairstyle just right, because she goes through a couple of hairstyles in the film. When she first arrives at Gateway Station, it's slightly longer. Then we see it get a little bit shorter before she joins the crew of the Sulaco. But I think, yeah, there's individual strands in there. The colour is right. The style is right. And I think overall, it's a very good job with the hair. I think the face and the head sculpt itself is very good. I think the paint applications for the skin tone aren't the best in the world, and they could be more detailing, as I mentioned, with weathering and battle damage there. But the eyes are nice and glassy. They've caught that jawline, that rather unusual jawline, which is very difficult to catch with Sigourney Weaver, with the lower jaw jutting out ever so slightly, and the lower set of teeth actually raising up. But I think they've caught that there very, very well. So I think, yeah, the head sculpt is very, very good indeed. So that's Sigourney Weaver, aka Ripley from Aliens. I think what we should do now is bring out the Hot Toys version, put these two side by side, see how they compare, and go in for final thoughts. Okay, so it's the two Ripleys. Hot Toys Ripley, 79 Alien, and Present Toys Ripley, Aliens. First thing that strikes me when I put them next to each other, probably a bit deceptive on these stands, so I'll take them off and get them both into shot here, is the proportions. As you can see, the proportions are a country mile apart here. Now, I am a big fan of Present Toys, as regulars to the channel will know. I've got a lot of their figures, and I think they produce some excellent work. On the whole, they can be a bit hit and miss. But one thing I have noticed about Present Toys is they have got a completely different idea about what 1/6 scale is compared to a lot of the other companies. I have their Lee Van Cleef and Eli Wallach stood up against a Sideshow Collectibles Clint Eastwood from The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, and literally they look like they're different scales entirely. I'll pop these back on the stand, but as you can see, yeah, the Present Toys take here is considerably smaller than the Hot Toys take. That's the first thing. Those head sculpts, as I mentioned before, now I'm going to try and bring these both into camera, and we're going to bring in one of the Alien Warriors as well. You can probably see him lurking on the sidelines there, so we can see how they compare together. Now, as I mentioned about that head sculpt, now seeing them both side by side, what I suspect has happened here, and please, as I say, don't quote me on this, but I think when Present Toys first put out that prototype head sculpt, and there was much consternation in the collecting community, so they went back to the drawing board. I don't think they've remolded the Ripley head sculpt from Hot Toys, because if you actually look here, number one, the scale would be completely off. The eyes are slightly different. They're wider open on the Hot Toys version. They're glassier. There's more life to them. The mouth is similar in expression, and the nose is slightly narrower on the Present Toys version. But what I suspect has happened here, and as I say, please don't quote me on this, is I think when they went back to the drawing board, what they did was they remodeled the Aliens head sculpt on the Hot Toys one, rather than, which is not a bad thing, I suppose, because I think the Hot Toys one is very, very good, particularly for its age. I know we're probably likely to see a redoing of this figure in 2025, and it'd be interesting to see what Hot Toys do with it then. But, you know, using that as source material for that is not a bad idea, and I would suspect that that's what they've done. The head sculpt, though, overall, the Hot Toys one wins by a country mile. I think in every department, the Hot Toys figure wins. I think in scale, proportions, screen accuracy, build, body, just about beats it hands down. That's not to say the present Toys doesn't have some good things going for it, and yeah, we'll cover those in the roundup at the end. Let's just bring in the Alien Warrior for some size comparisons. If I can get this big chap to fit in on screen with the other two, and we can see how it compares. Now, ironically, I think probably it scales better against the present Toys one than it does against the Hot Toys version. But yeah, I'm gonna have to move the camera a little bit here to get all of this guy in shot. Just bear with me, we'll just pull back a little bit so we can see all three of them together. Now, taking Hot Toys out of the equation, we'll bring these two forward and see how they square up against each other. Now, seeing them side by side like this, I'm not 100% certain that Ripley isn't a little bit too small there. I haven't measured them, don't know the exact heights, so I'm going on eye here alone, but I would say Ripley looks a tad small, probably more in proportion with the Hot Toys one, but still works together, and they'll still display very well together, as we'll see in the showcase at the end. But yeah, let's go in for final thoughts then. I mean, final thoughts on the comparison, at least. As I say, the Hot Toys is most certainly a clear winner there. But the present Toys version does have good things going for it. The accessories are good. Posing those weapons in the hands is not the easiest thing in the world. I've got to say that from the get-go. The hands don't want to grip very well. They don't peg into the arms very well. There are some flaws here, shall we say, with the present Toys version. First and foremost, we'll start with the plus side. The plus side, although not in 100% 6-scale proportion, the actual proportions for its size work. As I mentioned before, the accessories are very good. The flamethrower, the pulse rifle, the xenomorph egg and facehugger, all very, very good. It needs more weathering. Absolutely, that's the first thing I noticed. Another downside, the sculpt on these boots and the paint applications could be better. Once again, I will hark back to price point, but you know, areas for improvement are areas for improvement. More weathering, more bruising, some more maybe blood paint applications to that face wouldn't have gone amiss. The body, not the best in the world. Those proportions on those arms and those ugly seam lines on the arms could have been better. So yeah, there's some really, really good stuff here. I think the altering the head sculpt and this new head sculpt that they've gone with is a huge step forward. And I think as perhaps a base to begin a Ripley Aliens figure, they've done really, really well. And there are lots of good things to be said about this. However, there are a lot of downsides as well. And that's going to impact on the score, unfortunately. I think poor paint applications and sculpt on the boots, that upper body, the overall proportions, the lack of weathering. I think what we're looking at here is probably, I'm going to go with a 7 on this one. I don't think it's present Toys' best work, but I don't think it's their worst work either. I think there's a lot of good things to be had here, and maybe as a placeholder until we see one of the bigger companies attack this figure and give us something a little bit more in keeping, then I think you could do a lot worse than this figure. So yeah, there you have it. We're going to go with a 7 on present Toys' take on Ripley from Aliens. So What are your thoughts on this figure? Do you have it in your collection? Have you got it on pre-order? Is it due in soon? Has it already landed? Let me know. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on present toys, on the movie, on anything at all. Please drop a comment in the comment section below. Nothing is off menu, and I'd be fascinated to hear your take on this particular piece. I can imagine it getting mixed reactions. I'm glad to have it in the collection. I think it's good, but it's not exceptional. But yeah, there you have it. So that about wraps it up for this review, folks. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been useful for you. What's coming up on the channel? Oh, well, I am not going to go into individual figures because, as regulars to the channel will know, there's a hell of a lot of stuff on the horizon. But we're looking at 6-scale figures from InArt, from Pure Arts, from Hot Toys, from Susu Toys, Present Toys, a whole raft of 6-scale figures and quarter-scale action figures and statues. We've got retro reviews coming up. We've got showcases. We have more episodes of Don't Make Me Choose, where I pit 2 figures against each other and the winner stays and the loser has to go. So yeah, loads of stuff on the horizon. So I mentioned at the top there, please mash that subscribe button and bell notification icon and drop a like on this video so other people can find the channel. And I suppose all it remains for me to say, from the 2 Ripleys and the Alien Warrior, thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves, happy collecting, and it's over to the showcase.